the first 2 tenants I had was good. And then after I got some bad tenants, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, I had a bad tenant, so I had to
boy.
go through the experience where the tenants wasn't paying, and I had to take them to the landlord tenant board at that
LTB.
time,
Oh my
LTB.
God.
So they weren't paying, so they were staying in my place. Remember, I'm 22, 23 years old. I don't have the income to pay, so I had to cover it, to scramble to try
Jeez.
to make the mortgage payments at the time.
I've seen some situations,
Yeah.
damage, cockroaches, mice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the whole thing about the show that we have here. We talk about everything. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And that was the bad.
that's
was
the bad. Like,
at the
nobody
beginning.
knows that about. Like, this
Exactly.
is probably the first time you're disclosing it.
Exactly. I never really shared that. You know.
How many people have you told that story to?
How many people have told that story to? Not many.
There you go. Exclusive.
Not many.
With us,
Exactly.
man. Welcome to the 5th episode of The Real Side of Real Estate. I'm super excited to have Leo Francis and Jacqueline Francis with us from Francis5properties. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, my man. Thank you so much for having us, man.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming, man. There's a snowstorm today.
I know. We picked the best day, right?
Oh my God. We're living in Canada, guys.
Yeah.
There's a lot of snow. We've been fortunate up until now to not have any snow. This first snowfall and the day we're
Yeah.
doing the podcast. Thank you so much for coming out.
No, thanks for having us.
So Leo, how'd you get, how did this come about, the Francis5properties? Tell me a little bit about how you guys came up with the name, you and Jacqueline, and how did this come about? Like, tell me where you guys started.
Well, we started with in terms of the name, like we were doing in real estate, so we were like, okay, you know what, we already started investing in real estate, so we're like, okay, we got to come up with a name, So we were thinking about a name that will describe us best. So with the name Francis5properties, it's pretty much just like me, Jacqueline, and like we have 3 children.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's how you.
so-
Okay, I was always thinking this is you guys got 5 properties. You start with 5 properties. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was the children.
Yeah,
and
the
you and
children and
Jacqueline.
us
Oh, okay.
incorporating the children with us into the name when we're making a name choice for Francis5properties, as we thought, like we want to get our children involved. We already started bringing them to different educational programs for the real estate and stuff. So when we were thinking about the name, I thought about the whole family. I thought about
that's
me, Jackie,
amazing.
and I thought about the kids as well, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have 2 boys, 2 girls? What?
We have 2 girls and 1 boy.
Oh, amazing. How old are the kids?
We have a 17-year-old, a
17.
12-year-old, and then 8-year-old. So the 2 young ones are the girls, and the oldest
nice.
one's the boy.
Teenager, huh?
Yeah.
It could be a challenge, huh?
Exactly.
I help raise my sisters. I know it's challenging time.
Yeah, it is.
That's
It is.
amazing. That's
It
amazing.
is.
You guys
Yeah.
plan on having any more children?
No. I would like more, but the wife was done 8 years ago, But
It's a lot of work. I have
Yeah.
2 right now. I'll
Yeah.
tell you, man, like I'm not sleeping, man. I'm not sleeping. I have a 3-month and a 4-year-old, and
yeah.
it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you on your toes.
definitely does. It
And that's what
definitely
we're
does.
doing it for, right? At the end of the day, this is our why, right? Like when we get started in this kind of a business, we're like, what's the why? That's the why,
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's amazing. So were you always into real estate growing up, or like it was just something that kind of was a hobby, or like how'd you get started in it?
How I really got started, to be honest with you, was like, and I don't tell a lot of people this, I actually became an accidental landlord when I was like 23, 24 years old. Like,
Accidental.
Yeah, like I bought, because when I say accidental, I mean because I bought a property. We were living in Toronto, in the city. I bought a property out in the suburbs in the East Pickering. So I bought my first house with the intention to move my family. Then times I was living with my mother and my sister and my brother. So I'm like, hey, let's just buy a house and then we could all put in and make the mortgage payment. So when I bought this house, that was my plan. So that when I signed the agreement, and my family didn't think I was serious, and then they backed out. They didn't want to leave. They didn't want to leave the city, So I'm like, you know what? I'm already put in the down payment. Already signed the papers. I'm just gonna go ahead with it. So we bought the house, and then I kept it for a while, and then the payments was too much for just me because I had the house for myself. So I'm like, okay, let me just rent it out, not knowing what I was really doing.
Oh wow. How old were you then?
I think I was 23, around 23.
So you were young,
Yeah,
23 to buy a house. That's like
Yeah.
that's super young. Like at
Yeah.
23, I was partying, man.
Yeah,
I was not thinking about buying houses. I was like, how's my hair look? So you were ahead of the game at 23.
Yeah, but I didn't know, like, I had no education and really know what I was doing. But I did know it was a good idea to buy a house and actually start building some equity. I knew there's something along the lines was there. It was some portion of the payments will go to the equity of the property, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I knew that aspect of it. And then
And that was way before like Pickering and Ajax was even like hot. Like,
exactly.
like that was like back then that was probably like suburb for you
Exactly.
guys.
That was 20 years ago.
20 years ago, and telling your parents that that's a hard sell. Hey guys, you guys want to move to the suburbs?
Exactly. It sounded good, but then when they saw that I was serious, they backed out, you know?
So that's great. Like,
yeah.
whereabouts in Toronto was your family? Just out of curiosity.
We were like in like at the time we were like in Don Mills in Eglinton area.
Oh,
It's
okay,
it's a neighborhood called Flemington Park.
Okay, great.
So we lived there for a few years.
So you're around everything. You're
Yeah,
like
in the city.
in the center of everything. To move to the suburbs is like
Exactly.
that's a
It's
hard
like
sell, man.
scary to them because they're used to the city life, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So you accidentally became a landlord. That's amazing. That's amazing. Tell me you had some good tenants. Were your first tenants good?
Well, here's the thing. I had some good tenants, and then like the first 2 tenants I had was good, and then after I got some bad tenants, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, I had a bad tenant, so I had to
boy.
go through the experience where the tenants wasn't paying, and I had to take them to the landlord tenant board at that
LTB.
time,
Oh my
LTB. So so they weren't paying, so they were staying in my place. Remember, I'm 22, 23 years old. I don't have the income to pay, so I had to cover, I had to scramble to try
Jeez.
to make the mortgage payments at the time. And then so these tenants were bad. They weren't paying. They were just doing it deliberately. And these tenants stayed till the very last night.
Wow. Until the
sheriff
came.
until the sheriff
But
came.
back then it was probably much quicker.
It was quicker. It was like back then it was like maybe about five months, you know. Back then, you know, so it was about 4 or 5 months.
It's
it took.
still 5 months of paying a mortgage.
Exactly 5 months of paying a mortgage. Just somebody don't have money like that, right?
And what was their excuse?
They lost their job.
Oh,
like
okay.
they didn't have an income,
I
you
see.
know, and then so. But they didn't want to leave. They didn't want to move, so they just stopped playing, stopped paying, stopped communicating. So they stayed to the very last night. The last night when the sheriff gave the 24-hour notice they're coming. The last night. By the time the sheriff come, they were gone. They stayed the very last night. So that was my first experience with bad tenants, and I had to actually go to the LTV and get them evicted. You know, so that was that experience. That was my first experience with real estate. You know.
That's great. Well, it's good that you got involved that early.
Yeah.
It's not great that you had bad tenants.
Yeah.
Did they damage anything?
No, they didn't damage anything. No, they didn't cause any damage. You know, they left a little bit of mess for me.
So it could have been worse.
It could have been.
I've seen some situations
Yeah.
damage, cockroaches, mice, and that's like the whole thing about the show that we have here. We talk about everything. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that was the bad.
That's
the
the bad. Like
at the
nobody
beginning.
knows that about. Like
Exactly.
this is probably the first time you're disclosing.
Exactly. I never really shared that. You know.
See?
Yeah, so-
Yeah, it's coming out, man. Bring it all out today.
Exactly.
So did you keep that property, and what did you end up doing?
Yeah, so
with
once
that
we
one?
got those tenants out, we ended up keeping it for a few years. So that was my first encounter with real estate, and we realized we kept that property for a few years, maybe a year or two after, and then we ended up selling it. So then, remember, I didn't have no education. I didn't really know what I was really doing. So when I sold the property, because it was too much, it was just me paying for this 5-bedroom house. So I'm like, it doesn't make no sense, you know. So I sold it.
Yeah.
And then that's when I first realized once we sold it, and we made, and then I made like $300K profit on it.
Wow.
At 23 years old.
At that age?
Yeah, 23, 24 years old. So that's I'm like, okay, now I'm onto something now.
I like this real estate business.
Yeah, like I'm onto something here.
That's
you know?
amazing.
So once he sold it, made like $300K profit after everything, after all the expenses and everything. So then that's when I was like, okay, I'm onto something here, you know? So that's my first encounter with real estate.
That's amazing. What kind of work were you doing at the time? Like
at the time, I was
at 23, you're probably
at the time I was No, I wasn't in school. I was out of school, but I was working like a factory job. I
Oh,
was working
okay,
like
okay.
at the time I was working like it was like a A&P I was working. It was like a frozen
Okay.
food packaging
Oh
stuff
yeah,
with
yeah,
skids.
AMP. I remember.
Yeah,
That's great. And you
Yeah.
bought a house at 23. You're
Yeah.
responsible, man.
Yeah.
I wish I was as responsible as you at 23. It took me time, man. Like,
Yeah.
pressure, parents, and
Exactly.
everything. It takes time.
Well, that's what I told you. It was an accident because the whole plan was to get everybody to contribute. Like I was staying with my sister, my
Yeah,
mom.
yeah.
If everybody puts in, and we can pay this mortgage payment easily. So it was a lot of stress on me at that time
Yeah,
because
I can
I wasn't anticipating them backing out. At the last minute.
It's a big move, right? Moving
Yeah.
from like Toronto, like you're in the heart of everything, and moving to the suburbs. And back then, Pickering was like nobody was talking about Pickering back then.
Exactly.
Like back then, it was like, where's Pickering? You know what I mean?
No,
You probably
no.
have to look on the map to find Pickering.
Exactly.
Right? Now Pickering is very it's a very good hub for people to move. It's expensive now, Pickering.
Yeah.
Ajax, Whitby. Pickering is more expensive than Ajax and Whitby. It's very expensive out
Yeah,
there.
it is.
And like to think about like how it's gone up so much in the last 20 years.
It's incredible.
It's probably amazing. Same like places like Milton too.
Yeah.
Milton has jumped up so much.
Yeah.
So that was your first taste of it.
real estate. Yeah.
And then you got hooked.
And then I got hooked.
And then you're like, I gotta do this.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's amazing. And then 300K at that age.
Oh.
I would have bought a car. I would have put some
Exactly.
rims on it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Speakers. Call my friends. Hey, man, I'm outside.
Yeah.
So it must have been tempting to tap into that money at that age.
At that age, but it was tempting. But I always had a mindset of I always wanted to, invest, like flip it, the money, invest into it. So I'm like, so once I got the taste, I'm like, damn. In the case, I wanted to get another property,
Oh,
so
that's
I'm like,
great.
yeah, so so I sat on the money for a few months, and then I'm like, okay, let's start looking for another property,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you end up getting another single family?
No, I end up buying. That's when I bought my first condo. You bought a condo next,
Okay. In
Because I'm at
Toronto?
least in Toronto,
Okay,
like
great.
close to where we were living.
Oh, nice.
So we were living at like the Flemington Park, which is Don Mills in Eglinton. So I bought a condo, Leslie in Eglinton, my first condo. So it's pretty much close to where the family was staying,
And that was an investment, renting it out.
That was an investment. That was an investment. I rented it out and stuff. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
and to make 300K on your first investment,
Yeah.
that's like winning a lottery. Like I
Exactly.
remember making like 50K on my first house. I was like, man, like
Yeah.
my first flip. I was like, I did it. And I was not that young. I was
Exactly.
in my 30s. But
Exactly.
I to have that mindset at 23, to buy that property, it must have been scary. That must have been a scary time for you and your family backing out.
That was scary when they backed out. So I was like, because I already put down, I think it was a $10,000 deposit or $5,000, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, do I back out or do I lose my money? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, let's just run with it, see what we could do. And I just stuck with it. Yeah.
That's amazing. You know what? Like nowadays, I find a lot of people, they overanalyze things, right? And they're so scared to jump in, They want to know all the answers before jumping in. Yeah. I find there's no way to know all the answers before jumping in. Yeah. It's what's the thing that they say? Analysis
paralysis. Yeah.
Like, and I find that
spectators.
It's a lot of men doing that now.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of men doing that. Women actually jump in, ask questions later.
Yeah.
Men are like, no, the numbers, And I was like that. I was like, the numbers gotta be. This gotta be right. Yeah. This guy taught me that, and that's gotta be the 1% rule, and this rule, and that rule, and this rule. And I'm like, and I remember actually one of my clients, and Danielle.
Yeah.
She's like, forget all that, just jump in. And I was like,
yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, no, you're right. Because women's like that. Because even in our own relationship, I'm like the brakes. My wife's like the gas. Like, go. I'm like, let's think about this.
And you know what? You need that. Like, the balance. Need that push, right? Like, I would have never bought the properties I bought if it wasn't for my wife or my mom or my sisters. They're all pushing.
Exactly.
Pushing.
No, that's true.
Sometimes you're like, okay, leave me alone. And like, sometimes you're just like, I'll just do it for you to leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'll buy this house. Leave me alone. So, but you know what? I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for that because if they weren't there, I'd probably be like, okay, I'm chilling. Okay, guys, come over. Let's have a barbecue. And you know how we are as men. You know, you get a little bit like, what's the word? Comfortable.
Yes.
And the minute that we get comfortable, we're just like, okay, we're good. Like, and then, you know, we need that extra push to like, okay, we can do this and we can do that. And usually the good ideas are brought to us by the women. Some bad ideas too, but mostly good ideas when it comes to real estate investing.
Exactly.
And my mother was a very strong encouragement in my life. It's like, go do it. My father's like, no, don't do it. You'll get hurt. You'll get hurt. Like the mentalities were so different, right? Like my father's mentality was always like, trying to protect me, overprotective, right?
Yes.
My mother's mentality is like, you could do better, right? So it's always like, okay, who do I go to? And whenever you have an investment idea, you first go to your family. Like, what do you guys think?
Exactly.
You know, and if they're encouraging you, you're like, okay, maybe I'll do it. But if they're like, no, don't do it, you'll get hurt. Okay, I'm not gonna do it. So was your family? Did they play a good role in your? When you started up, were they encouraging when you were, you know, investing in real estate, or were they like, be careful, Leo, don't do it, you're gonna get hurt? What kind of role did they play?
The role they didn't know. Like they didn't know.
They didn't know.
They didn't know
You
nothing
didn't even
about
know.
real estate.
You
They didn't know really nothing about real estate and stuff.
Did you
like,
come to them before you?
I came to my mother back when I bought my second property. It was the condo. I came to my mother because I think she had to kind of co-sign. Or you know, something like that. So I came to her. She didn't she had no clue what was going on. She just kind of just running with whatever I'm going with, right? So she just knew it was a good idea from what I'm explaining to her.
Oh, okay. So she was encouraging. So
she was encouraging. Good. Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't like, no, don't do it, Leo. You're gonna hurt yourself.
No, because she when she seen the first property and the profits I made.
So
she's like, okay, he's
a lottery ticket. Keep going. Well, that's great, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are not that fortunate to make that kind of money on their first property.
Exactly.
Usually people on their first property, unless they hold it, they don't make much money.
Exactly.
So to make that kind of money on your first property is massive. And of course it's going to be encouraging. To show the money to people would be like, hey.
Exactly.
It's instrumental, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I know you and Jacqueline are part of a lot of groups right now, like educational groups, real estate groups. How did you guys get involved in that? That's something like, I know you got involved in real estate in 23, 24 when you were younger. And, you know, you learned through your own experiences, but like you're probably yearning for more, to learn more. Were you yearning to learn about multifamily? What were you yearning to learn about that you got involved with, you know, the real estate groups that you're part of right now?
Well, as you know, like I said, like it sparked the interest in the first investment, and I bought the second condo. So I still didn't really have too much education when I bought my second property, but it all really started back in 2016 when I was actually driving in my car and I heard on the radio about an educational program called Keyspire. I heard that on the radio, and then I came home to my wife and I'm like, hey, you know, we should go check this out. And it's Scott McGilvery or
he's the poster for that.
They're doing a free workshop thing, you know.
So I'm
like, let's go check it out. You know, I think this is gonna be good for us. You know, I always had an interest in real estate, so I think it'll be good for us. This was back in 2016, right? I think it'll be good for us. So then that's when it really started, and then also I told my wife, and then we went to that. We went to that free workshop thing with Scott McGilvery, and then from there. They had another a weekend what's it called, like that, another like a full weekend. The first time it was a 1-day thing, and then the second time it was like
a workshop kind
of
thing?
A workshop. A weekend.
Yeah.
So we went for the workshop, and then we were still like, you know, we want more, you know,
more,
like this stuff, all this stuff is just amazing to us, like a whole new world to us. We're like, damn, we didn't know all this stuff. We want more. We want more information. We're fiending for more information. So then after the weekend workshop, then that's when we registered. Like we actually joined
for Keyspire.
Yeah, that was our first.
That was your first program.
That was our first educational program that we joined, was Keyspire back in 2016. So after the workshop, we actually signed up for Keyspire, and it was funny because when we were joining up, like we seen the price tag to join up, and it was like I think it was 18,000 or something at the time. I'm like, whoa! When I see the price, I'm like, this is crazy. You know?
A lot of people say that.
$18,000.
I actually went to the first one too.
Yeah.
And I looked at I'm like, this is nuts. Exactly like what you said.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like they can't afford it, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, we'll just go to the free seminar, right?
Exactly. When we found the price and it was 18,000, we're going back and forth. Should we? The price is crazy, you know. And then we're like, oh, let's just do it. So I just put it on my credit card. I swipe, put on my credit card, and then years later, we talked about it. I'm like, that's the best $18,000 I've ever invested so far, you know.
And that's great. And I want to talk about that because I didn't invest anything. So I went the other way.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to learn it from the grind.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a realtor. I see a lot of more of the grind of it
Yeah.
than other people, and I was fortunate enough to have really good clients to share.
Yeah.
Share information. You know, they were doing a higher scale, but I didn't have the money when I was looking at those programs. I went to the free seminar too. Keysfire.
Yeah.
The overview was like, okay, this is like,
Yeah.
you know, they're showing you just like the high level stuff.
Exactly.
The first day, and you're just
Yeah.
like,
So much
you know,
information.
you're like, I want to learn so much more.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
you have to sign up for the program.
Exactly.
And see, one of my clients, Danielle, as you guys know, she took these programs too.
Oh, yeah.
She took
Yeah.
these programs, and you know, when she was my client about 8-10 years ago, when we were looking at properties and she was flipping properties, I'm like, isn't that like, aren't you already doing this? You know, I couldn't understand. I couldn't wrap my head around
the education
that,
piece of it.
like how you could be paying this much,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
to do it. And now that I look at it, I'm like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because so many people that have done a lot of real estate deals and scaling up their portfolio have taken these courses, these educational courses.
Yeah.
And not only have they learned a lot, they've got to meet great people. And I'm sure you guys have met great people through the program. And, you know, you're still probably in contact with them. You're still probably friends with them.
Well, absolutely. Well, this is why I'm telling you that it was the best $18,000 that I invested, because the connections we made, the partnerships we made, the educational piece. Like even to this day, we got like we have some incredible partners from Keyspire that we know, like that are still partners of ours to this day.
Business partners.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Business partners.
That's
You know?
amazing.
So,
And you met all these people in Keyspire.
from Keyspire.
So see,
You know?
sometimes you don't know, right? Like
Exactly.
the fear, right?
Yeah.
It's getting over the fear, getting over the price tag.
Yeah.
Well, the first is getting over the price tag,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
And then, is this going to be beneficial for me?
Yeah.
Is this going to actually? There's a lot of programs out there that are not beneficial.
Yes. I agree.
There's a lot of programs that will take up your money,
Yeah.
and they'll teach you, but it may not teach you what you need
Yes.
in this landscape.
I agree.
Like when I started in real estate, I was like, before I became a realtor, I was we had a car dealership, and we had towing business, and I was always interested in it. So I always went online, and I'm like, I ordered these books, and they came about flipping properties. And when I got so excited, I got these books, and I opened it up, and it was like flipping properties in the United States. And I was like, I live in Canada. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it didn't really, it wasn't the same. It's two different markets, right? So, you gotta have to find find that specific area of help that you need. In Keyspire was the niche, right?
Yeah.
And in Keyspire it was kind of broad. The first seminar I went to it, and then I know there was so much more information they were withholding.
Yeah.
And I was like, flip it out. But you had to pay, and I wasn't fortunate enough to be able to do that.
Exactly.
But it's great to be in contact with someone that went through the program.
Yeah.
And you enjoy the program. How long was that program?
How long was the program?
Yeah,
The Keyspire
yeah,
program?
the
Well,
Keyspire.
once you sign up, then you pay a fee every year to join. Like they have the Facebook group, and they have 2 summits a year that they have, live in-person summits. So you pay like a $500 fee, and you could keep going. Like you stay on the Facebook group, and I think they pay an extra fee if you want to do like the summits. I think when you initially sign up, you get 2 free summits, you get the Facebook group, and you get some other programs with it. But then if you want, annual fee is about $500, and you stay a part as a member.
Well, it's not that bad once you're
Once
involved.
you're a member,
Once
yeah,
you're
yeah.
a member.
Once you're a member, you just pay your fee and you stay there. You have access to the Facebook group and whatnot, right? So
That's amazing. So did you guys learn anything about the multifamily space in there?
from there, that was the only thing missing from Keysfire.
That was the thing missing.
Was a multifamily, you know. But we learned Keysfire was the first educational program that we signed up for. Then we signed up after Keysfire, we signed up some other programs, some other multifamily courses, and it's funny because these other multifamily courses we took, they came from Keysfire too. Like they were a member of Keysfire, and then they just kind of just branched off.
And they made their own. They made
their
own program.
They made their own program with multifamily because we were interested in multifamily because we're like, how can we keep growing our portfolio? How can we keep growing and getting more doors? Because we're seeing these other investors, they have like 200 doors, 300 doors. We're like, how is that even possible? So we were just curious about how to grow our portfolio and grow and get some more doors.
And it's intimidating, right? Like I went to a couple seminars with some clients, and actually one or two with Danielle, and people are in there, they own like 300 buildings, 400 buildings, and I'm just like, how many do you own? I'm like, couple. You know what I mean? And it's like, how did you do that? And
exactly.
How did you scale to that point?
Exactly.
And unless you're in the room with them and you ask them these questions, or unless you're in the program with them, I know you guys are part of other programs, right?
Yeah.
So these programs that branched off from Keyspire, tell me a little bit about those programs. What kind of programs branched off out of Keyspire?
Well, they were pretty much multifamily programs, right? Other investors that came from Keyspire, they branched off, did their own thing, started their own programs, their own courses. So we were like, and we seen these other investors, and they're having like you said, hundreds of doors. So we're curious. We want to know, how can we get there? Like, how can we get without hitting it? Because when you hit a certain amount of doors, you hit a financial wall.
Yeah.
So how am I gonna get the financing? So we're curious. We didn't really know too much how private money works and all this stuff. So we're like, how can we do it? So we paid into it to learn how these other investors are doing it. So we paid into other multifamily courses to learn how to do it, and that's how come we learned it, and we're doing it now.
That's amazing. And that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the education.
Yeah.
You're paying for their experience.
Exactly.
You're paying for someone's experience.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, the most important thing is experience.
Exactly.
If someone's experienced something, they have the stripes. I call them stripes.
Exactly.
If you see a zebra, stick by that zebra because they have the stripes. They've done it, right?
Exactly. It's funny how you say that, because I always tell my wife, because it's one thing to pay, because there's so many different programs. People are selling so many different programs, but you're not gonna pay for a program for somebody that's doing flip. If you're looking for multifamily, you want somebody that's actively doing it. We have to choose our programs wisely, that people that's actually doing what they're teaching.
That's true. 100%.
You know what I mean?
And it's very important because it validates their program.
Yeah.
Like the way I look at it is like, I'm an investment realtor.
Yeah.
If I didn't have my own investments, how can I be an investment realtor?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If I'm not doing it, how can I advise you about how to do it? Right?
Exactly.
So it's a valid point. And I know some of the programs that you guys are part of, and they're doing it on a high scale.
Yes.
And they have investments all over the world.
Yes,
and they have probably 50 to 100 doors, some of these people.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, how did you do it? Yeah. And you learn things like OPM. Yeah. My favorite three letters. Yeah. Other people's money.
Exactly.
And I'm like, how can I attract other people's money? Exactly. And when I learned that, how to attract other people's money and use it for flipping and what I've done, and I'm like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So, you read books, you part of these courses, and you start learning from other people's experiences, and you come to this point that you're just like, wow, I didn't know everything. Sometimes you're like, oh, you think you got it figured out, and then another 2 doors open, and you're like, I don't have it figured out at all. It's like, whoa, you could do that, and you could do it this way. Even me as a realtor, things are always changing.
Oh yeah.
And to keep up with the changes, and to keep up with things that are happening in the market and ways of structuring deals, it's like it's a full-time job on its own.
Absolutely.
So going back to OPM, other people's money, I never knew I could do it with other people's money. I was like, I'm tapped out.
Yep. Same with us.
What can I do now? Like, so, I spoke to people like, like you have, and well, I'm not doing it with my own money. I'm like, how are you doing it? Like, how can you do it without your own money? Because we were always taught, you work hard, you make your money, you invest in real estate, you do it with your own money. So how do you do it with other people's money? How do you attract other people's money? So all of these things, it blew my mind listening to people, experts, and people that like yourself, and people like in those programs that teach these things, right? And how to attract money. And I know that's one of the courses in the programs.
Yes.
And that's a huge course.
Yes.
Attracting money.
Yes.
And
that was the second program because we were hearing some other investors, screaming out OPM. So we're like, OPM, how do they do this? So we paid in. That's the second program.
That was the second program.
Yeah, the investors were selling. That was their their thing. OPM, other people's money. So we're like, this is very interesting. Let's pay into this now. Let's go here. And then we learned it. The same like yourself. We're like OPM. We're like, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this next.
And it blows your mind because, I remember reading a book, Money People Deal, I think it was called. Stefan Arniel. And he was a guy in Winnipeg. He was flipping properties. And he was doing it with other people's money. I'm like, I like this. How can I do this? Other people's money?
Yeah.
So how do you gain that trust? How do you gain that authority to do it without showing you've done it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So you have to do it. So, and this is what I always tell my clients. I'm like, do your first one. You'll learn so much through your first one. It doesn't matter how big of it. I always tell them to start small, maybe like a duplex, triplex. Yeah. Do your first deal. You'll learn so much through the process. You'll learn so much through the construction phase and all these things that you'll earn your first strike. Yeah. And to the people that have not done it, you're the Don. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And to the people that have done so much, they're like, it's okay.
Exactly.
Now it's the next level.
That's true.
OPM. You know what I mean?
True.
So there's levels to every thing that you're doing in real estate, right?
Absolutely.
And that's why these courses are very important, and like the education that you've got. And I didn't realize that 10 years ago, and I say that always to my close friend and client Danielle. I'm like, I didn't realize it at that time, and now I see it, right?
Yeah.
So that's great. Tell me a little bit about what you guys are invested in right now, Leo. What do you guys got going on right now in terms of?
What we have now, like I just told you, like we learned the multifamily, so we're invested in multifamily. We got a couple of multifamily apartment buildings and
above 5 units or awesome. Yeah. Did you guys try the CMHC Select program?
No, we didn't. No. We didn't qualify for one of our properties. We're doing rentals and restructuring there. We didn't qualify for the CMHC on one of our properties in Niagara.
Okay.
So we're right now we're doing we have a couple of multifamily apartment buildings in Niagara Falls. We have a couple. We have pre-construction. We have a single family home, and we're actually 2024. We're like last year we manifested. We're like, we want to. Let's pivot, because the market and everything. So how can we pivot? So once we put that out there, then we're doing development now. We're building a couple houses here in Oshawa.
Wow. Yes. Development in Canada?
Yeah. We're doing development in Canada. We're building 2 single family homes in the east end and Oshawa.
Oshawa.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we're building a couple houses there.
So you guys are you guys are like waist deep. So there's some people that are knee deep.
Yeah.
Some people that just dipping their feet in. Yeah. You guys are waist deep.
Yeah.
You guys are
try to be active,
Oh, and that's amazing. That's like you got developments. You got 6-unit buildings. Yeah, so you guys don't discriminate. You're about everything. and like, how did you get a part of development? That's a huge thing, right? Like getting part of development, like starting your own.
How'd that come about?
Yeah, how'd that come about?
Last year we were talking, my wife, we're like, okay, the market's multifamily it's not making sense right now because the interest rate, the market, everyone knows the market. So how can we pivot? We put that out in the atmosphere, we put that out in the air, and then because we'll get into it later because I have a trucking company, so I've always been around small, mid-time, and large developers, right? People building it. So I never really focused on it because I was just focused on building my trucking company. But once we put that out in the air, and put that out in the atmosphere and manifest it, one of my clients that I was working for, he brought the opportunity to me that he had too much on his plate. So it's like, hey, you want to take this off our plate? We have this property here.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing how you manifest something and it just happens.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, I always say speak it into existence.
Exactly. That's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we did. Because we're like, oh, this year, 2024, we want to get into development. So we put that out there, and then, like I said, a client of mine said he had too much on his plate. Hey, you want to take this property off our hands? Already have it permit ready, shovel ready to build.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So
Permit ready too. Wow. That's the hard part.
Exactly.
The permit ready is like getting it permit ready for new development. It's a lot of work.
Exactly. So it was like a no-brainer. He had it permit ready. We used the same lenders that he was going to use to do the build. So everything was just set up for us. Was just for us to just put everything on our name, get the financing, deal with the lenders, and get it done. Start getting it done and start getting the construction done. You know.
That's amazing. How did you find getting lenders for that pre-development?
Well,
was that a little bit tricky?
Well, the guy he had it set up, so we were fortunate to get the same lender that we had the mortgage for the property to do the construction.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so
it just all aligned.
It just all aligned. So it's like no brainer. Like we just let's do it. You know,
that's really good because like I know new development, it takes so much running around.
Exactly.
And it takes so much like levies, that, and it's like.
Exactly.
There's a lot of homework.
Yes.
And there's a lot of legwork before you even get the permit.
Exactly. So he did all that before us. So we bought it pretty much permit ready, shovel ready, ready to go, construction ready. You know.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, which leads me to my next question. You're still working. You still got your full-time business that you're doing, right? What is that business like? We didn't even touch on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What, you said you're doing the trucking business.
My primary business that we do is like we have a trucking company. We own a dump truck trucking company. So we've owned that since 2007. So that's about 16 years now.
Oh, wow.
So that's my main primary business. So that's what we do. We own a trucking company, GTA Durham, that we run the trucks. You know. So that's our.
Trucking for new development or.
Well, it's a dump truck company, so it's like new development, construction sites. Construction debris and stuff like that, like hauling. Oh, okay. Yeah, when you're doing new development, small, large, big, they call us in to remove the soil from the So
property. You get contracts with all the contracting companies?
Yeah, I get contract with different developers, different companies. They contract the trucks, and we come there and remove the soil. You know,
that's amazing. Yeah. So you don't have to be there. You could remotely control that business.
No, I don't have to be there. No, I don't have to be there because we have multiple trucks, multiple drivers, employees, and stuff, right? So I don't physically have to be there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you could do your real estate, business on the side, have that trucking business. And you know what? That's a huge plus.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It didn't start there, you know.
No. So tell me where it started.
It didn't start there. Like I said,
I know you started with AMP.
Exactly. 16 years ago, I started with one truck. You know what I mean? Like grinding hard, working hard, just pushing, not sleeping, just trying to build my business.
So how did you get that truck? Like, how did that come about? Like,
well, I was in. So my second job was I was driving for a guy. I was working. I worked a couple of years for a company driving trucks, and then after I'm like,
the AZ.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I worked 2 years working for a company first, and then I'm like, okay, it's about that time. I need to go on my own. You know. So
you're always an entrepreneur.
Yes, exactly.
It wasn't just like obviously at 23, if you're buying a house, you're already thinking entrepreneurial.
Exactly. My mindset was already there. You know. So I said, let me just work a couple of years, get the experience, and then I made the move and bought the same company I was working for. I ended up buying the truck from the guy, you know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I bought it from the guy in return from him giving me job, like giving me customers, because I remember I'm on my own now, so I need the customers, I need the help, you know? So that was one of the deals I made with him. If I buy the truck from you, you're going to give me some customers, give me some work,
contracts.
Give me some contracts, give me some work. So I started that way with one truck.
Wow.
16 years ago now. Yeah, 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many trucks do you have now?
We have about 8.
Wow, that's amazing.
seven, eight trucks. Yeah.
It's amazing. And these are big, heavy duty
Yeah,
diesel
yeah,
trucks.
yeah, heavy, yeah, big, yeah, the big trucks, big dump trucks, big trucks. Yeah. So I started with that. Started with one, and then I just built it. I worked really hard, sleepless nights. Started with one, then two. A couple years later, two, then three.
And that's the
then four.
grind, man. That's the grind.
So
People
so I
can't
did-
don't.
exactly. You're the first, you know. Yeah, you're the first.
but
The people see the grind, the real side of it, right?
Yeah, like that's the grind, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's what encourages entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
grind, like
Yeah.
sleepless nights.
Yeah.
You know, trying to make that business work. And I'm sure it wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't
it's
easy. That's why I
Like,
told you
it's-
it didn't start there. Like you just seen the end result now, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really like I had to push to get it to that level, right? To get it where I could sit here and my business is still running. You know what I'm saying? Like trucks are still running on the road, right? Still, you know what I mean? So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
Like, did you see a slowdown with what's happening in the market right now?
To be honest, see, like during the whole COVID and pandemic, like we were actually considered essential. Like we were working, you know, building, keeping going, building the
Construction sites.
hospitals
Okay.
and building this.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
only this year now we felt it a little bit. We
little
felt
bit,
it a bit.
yeah,
It was a little
yeah.
slow, and then it picked up. But during the whole pandemic, no, we were running regularly. We were still busy.
That's
Like,
awesome.
everybody was getting laid off and locked down. We were still on the road, you know. So, but it's
Yeah.
only this year, 2023, was a little bit. It was a little bit slow.
It's slow for everybody.
Yeah,
right now.
everybody. It's
So you had the essential passport. I had one of those. Too.
Yeah.
Essential. Don't talk to me. I'm essential.
Exactly. We're considered essential, so we're still working until this year. It was kind of a little bit slow, but we're okay still, you know. Yeah.
No, I think it's gonna pick back up.
Oh, yeah,
the
it
market's
will.
gonna pick back up, and you know what? Like it always goes up and down. It's real estate cycles, right? So that's amazing. That grind, like, and you know what? I'm
Yeah.
happy you shared that with us
Yeah.
because like a lot of people they don't want to talk about the grind. Even
Yeah,
myself,
yeah,
like the
yeah.
grind is hard to talk about, right? Sometimes it's just like
yeah.
the hard times, the sleepless nights,
Yeah.
building one truck into a big business that
Yes.
you're overseeing. It's
Yes.
not easy to do.
No.
It's not easy to do, and managing people.
Yeah. I know.
Tell me about that. How is that? That's that itself is a full-time job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not easy. Just like any business, it's not easy to get employees, people that actually want to work. You know what I mean? That'll show up, do a good job, talk to your customers properly. So it's not easy. So for me, it built up over time. I had to go through many guys to find
You
the
built
guy.
some thick skin, eh?
Yeah. I had to go through a lot of different employees to get to where I'm at now, you know, and I can honestly say I have some good I got a good team right now.
That's
I got
amazing.
a solid team of guys where I could actually trust and be at ease. Like when I be at ease when
But
they're
it takes
out on the
time
road.
to
Yeah.
find those people, right?
Oh, it
They're
really
like-
takes time.
You know what? And it's getting harder
Yeah.
to find
It-
good people.
It is, and I always do an analogy like this: like for every 10, you might get the one good one.
So bad.
You know what I mean?
That's so bad. The percentages are so
I
bad.
know.
right now.
That's the stats.
The percentages are really bad.
For every 10,
know.
you might get the one good guy where you can say, yo, this guy's good. He's a good worker. He's a good, you know what I mean?
He's on time.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He
and
cleans
everything.
up after himself.
Exactly.
And,
You know?
and that's difficult. Even managing people's
Yeah.
expectations.
I know different personalities and,
You know,
you know.
you probably have a lot of stories about that on its own.
Oh yeah. I've been
Coming
through
in
it
the
all.
first day, I'm like, I want to make $200,000.
I've been through it all, you know.
That's amazing,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. That's the grind
Yeah.
that got you where you are. It's the entrepreneurial
Yes,
spirit,
exactly.
the persistence, you know, of not giving up,
Yeah.
and like pushing through. And you probably had a lot of obstacles and hurdles.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody really sees that part of things, right?
Yes,
And everybody's just like, oh, they just see the success.
Yes, they only see
You know,
it now.
they see the
Yeah,
success, and
exactly.
it's like an analogy. It's like they don't know how many times you got fucked
Yeah.
to get pregnant.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it takes
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you go through a lot of stuff
Yeah.
until you find that success, right?
Exactly.
And it's amazing that you guys have done what you've done, and you and Jacqueline, and I know she's a mindset coach too, and you guys are part of these programs. These programs are amazing, and learning all facets of real estate. What are you guys looking to do in the future? Are you guys looking to possibly share some of this knowledge? Are you looking to branch out that way, or are you looking to just keep going forward and get into bigger projects?
What we're looking to do in the future, like, it's funny because I'm reading a book right now called "Buy Back Your Time," right, by Dan Mortel. He's a Canadian. So like, our ultimate goal is to just have our time back, to do the things that we love, freedom, travel. Like for us, we don't like the cold weather, so like during the cold weather,
it's the cold weather, and nobody like it.
During the cold weather, we want to be somewhere hot. You know what I mean? That's like one of our goals. So in order to do that, how can we be down in the Caribbean and our businesses are still running, or you know what I mean? And not even us managing it, somebody managing it for us.
Good people.
You know what I mean? So we've started to do that. We started delegating a lot of stuff, started hiring a lot of people to do stuff that we don't really want to do anymore, and slowly start eliminating all these things where our business could still run while we're somewhere hot and where it's cold, So that's where we're headed, you know what I mean? Like we don't want to be getting into the more big projects where it takes more of our time. We want our time back to do the things that we love to do, travel, and then shop or whatever it is, like
the things that you guys enjoy.
Yeah, family, kids, like these are the things we enjoy. So we're working hard to get there, So
and that's the thing that people don't understand. Money is great, but it doesn't buy you time.
Exactly.
It may be a good down payment on happiness.
Yeah.
But you still got to pay the bill on that, right?
Yeah.
And coming from my perspective as a realtor, and we mentioned this earlier, I'm on the grind. I'm running, spinning. Manny, where are you? What are you doing? Manny, it's like to have that opportunity to take a step away and delegate some work to somebody else that's fully capable is heaven sent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you get to have that time with your children, with your kids, with your wife. Like, I have a newborn. I kiss her in the morning, and I kiss her at night when I'm back. Most of the time, she's sleeping.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that's my reason why.
Yeah.
And I don't get to spend time with my reason why. Because I'm grinding. I have a 4-year-old. He's like, Daddy, you going to work? Okay. Bye, Daddy. See you, bro. Now he learned how to say bro now.
Yeah.
See you, bro. Yeah. And when I'm on the phone, he's copying. He's like, yeah. He's you will I get that time back? Yeah. Those precious years to spend with them. Before they start talking back and say, I don't want to get out of my life.
I don't want to hang with you no more.
You probably know a little bit about that stuff, right?
Yeah.
As they age, but those precious times and minutes and hours, you'll never get that back. You'll make the money.
Yeah.
You'll make the money.
Yeah. Well,
but will you ever get that time?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Time is our most valuable asset, and what I'm learning in the book is that you make the money and you source these things out. You hire to get your time back. That's the way you have to look at it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So if that's your objective, you hire to get your time back to do the things, the most important stuff, the bigger stuff, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So you're hiring to get your time back. So it all makes sense. So that's where we at.
And that's the thing. And then when you look at it from a 9-to-5ers perspective, we're fortunate. We're entrepreneurs. We set our own schedule. Although it is a 24-hour grind, people don't understand. People, being an entrepreneur, you're grinding 24 hours. It's not that you're working less that you're an entrepreneur. You're working more, right?
Yeah, you're working more.
Sometimes they don't realize that. Yeah. People don't realize that. They're like, oh, you have your own business. Yeah. You could go to whatever you want. Yeah. It's not like that. You're working double the time.
Exactly.
There is no off switch. Yeah. A 9-to-5er, that's the pro. You have the off switch. But the thing that the 9-to-5ers, and I speak to a lot of them, is they're really working hard to get out of that 9-to-5 grind because they're trading their time for money. Yeah. And they're trying to do as you are trying to do and as I'm trying to do. buy back our time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
Yes.
and
Yes.
buying our time is an expensive thing.
Yeah.
And you know, it's probably the most expensive
Yeah.
thing we'll purchase in our life, right?
Yeah.
Because you will have carrots dangled in front of you,
Yes.
another deal,
Yeah,
another,
exactly.
and like, okay, kids recital, another
Yeah.
carrot.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like, and these things you gotta like think about, right? Like, and you know, even from my point of view, my wife, I'm so sorry, honey, I love you, but I've spent so much time
Yeah.
building that sometimes I've neglected. And I feel bad. And just imagine yourself, right? Sometimes you're building. Someone's getting neglected.
Yeah.
It could be your wife. It could be your kids. It could be your health, right? And you're just grinding. There's been days I haven't had lunch. I'm like, what's lunch? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People that are like 9 to 5ers, like, oh, you get to lunch, and then no, you're going, you know. And it's like when you're an entrepreneur, it's like comes in waves, right?
Yes.
And when you're riding that wave, you're not gonna jump off the wave to go eat lunch. You know what I mean? Like you're just like, okay, once the wave comes down, I'll go eat lunch, right? So a lot of people don't understand that, you know, and that's the thing.
Yeah, they do, and even for me, my upbringing, like thank God I have an understanding wife that knows what the grind was, you know. But it's now we're at a different season of our life, so it's like finding that balance now. Once you grind hard and you get to certain levels, it's just to find that balance now where you could just give back that time. But on the upbringing, I think your partner's got to be understanding
100%.
that you're grinding for a good cause.
You have to have a good partner in crime.
Yeah.
You have to. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
It's either a make or break situation.
Yeah, it could be if
like,
they don't understand. You know,
if they don't
like,
understand, if it's like my wife, and I say, I'm sorry, honey. If she didn't understand, we wouldn't be anywhere.
It's the same with me.
You know what I mean? Like, because it's like I'm working.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I trust you. You're working.
Yeah.
You're providing. I've been in situations. I'm working. Where exactly are you working? Here. What exactly are you doing here? By the time I explain, I don't even want to work anymore. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm done working. Come see you.
Yeah, too many questions.
But you're fortunate enough to be in the position you are, and you're a great role model to our viewers that when you start early and you take the risks, hey, high risk, high reward.
Yes.
Like,
absolutely.
At 23, that's a high risk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But look at the reward.
Yeah.
Now, I have a saying, scared money don't make no money.
Yeah.
So that means if you have money and you're afraid to invest, then you're not going to make any money. You can't be afraid. You got to jump in.
Yes.
Calculate it a little bit before you do it. Don't jump in completely blind.
Yeah.
And don't
calculated risk.
Don't over calculate it either, right?
Yeah.
But you're a great role model to have on to talk about that because you did it at 23. It worked out really well on the first one and on the second, and you're doing it now, at a fluent pace. You and your wife are doing it, which is great, and you got your kids involved. You're probably going to be teaching your kids all of these values and all these things, and all the education that you've learned. You're going to be like, okay, come.
Yeah.
Do this, do that, do this, and now it's going to be a generational thing, right?
Exactly. That's the whole idea.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Leo, for coming on. I had an amazing time chatting with you, brother.
Thank you.
And
man.
you're an inspiration to people that are starting out. 23 years old doing that. You probably haven't told that story to many people.
No. I think this is like one of the first time I ever told the story.
I'm so fortunate to have you on to tell that story. Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah.
And I look forward to doing things with you guys in the future.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, man. This was great, man.